video is a redo or a remake of an older video of mine, one of the very first videos I ever made. But the quality was quite bad and the editing wasn't very good, and I got a lot of requests from people on how to do victory rolls if you were a beginner, like if I have any tips or anything. And so I figured I would just redo this video. Anyways, I hope that you find this helpful, and yeah, if you would like to know my tips on how I first started doing victory rolls, then stick around. Alright, so the very first tip that I can give you is to start with curly hair or curl the sections that you want to put into the victory roll. Almost always it's easier if they have some type of structure to follow. So even like in my case, I just curled my hair overnight, and I didn't curl them necessarily in any particular way that I want the victory roll to go, but because they already have a little bit of curvature to them, it's naturally going to want to follow the curvature of that curl, and it'll make it much easier to place. The second tip is to tease the section that you're putting into the victory roll. This is especially helpful if you have thin or fine or freshly washed hair. If your hair is a bit dirty or it's somewhat coarse in texture, then you could probably bypass this step and you'd be okay. The third tip is if you have bangs. Leave your bangs out and just deal with the victory rolls, and then do something completely separate with your bangs. Trying to put in your bangs when you first start doing victory rolls with the rest of the victory roll is quite difficult. I definitely understand the frustrations of trying to do a victory roll. So I found that these two particular victory rolls and the way that I went about doing them was definitely the easiest for me. And then eventually it'll get to a point where it's not that difficult, and then you can start experimenting and doing other things. They're both very cute, and they're both used quite frequently in these type of hairstyles. So I figured that these two would probably benefit you most if you are just starting out with these hairstyles. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is separate my bangs for the most part. Just get them out of the way to make it a bit easier for me. So this one I'm pulling out at an angle. So I'm not pulling it straight up, and I'm not pulling it out to the side. I'm pulling it out at an angle, and then I'm going to make a little loop. Now the longer your hair, the smaller you want your loop to be, because by the time you get to your head, it'll be quite a large loop if you start too big. Now this loop, I'm rolling this loop so that it's staying flat and parallel to this hair. So to the very top of my hair, I want the loop to stay parallel, as if I were wrapping it like around the back of my head. So I'm keeping it nice and parallel. And then stick my finger in it. And bobby pin it when it gets to your head. And make sure you keep your finger in there. As you can tell, this one lays fairly flat, and these are the ones that I generally prefer to wear. I don't know, I think that they're a little less dramatic, so for me they're a bit easier to wear. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just grabbing a section of hair from the very front, like at an angle, so where my hairline meets my ear, I'm just going back towards the part and grabbing my hair. Now if you have too much hair, in a sense, like my part is not down the middle of my head, so I'm going to have more hair on this side than this side, so this one will probably be a bit larger. If you don't want that, then take hair out of the very top. So like right here, if I don't want this much hair, I'm going to drop this one and just use this hair in the front. But don't take it from this side, because then you'll have a lopsided victory roll. So the same thing, I'm just pulling this up at a 45-degree angle. And then here is the second one. So as you can see, these ones pretty much just sit flat across your head. So you don't have anything like sticking up. And then your bangs, there are multiple things you could do with your bangs. The simplest is to just pull them back and push them up and give yourself like a little poof in the front. That's always very simple. Or you can just roll them back in the exact same way that you did the victory roll and put them in a little pin curl. That is another thing that I do quite frequently. Now these second ones are actually a bit easier, but they're a bit more dramatic looking. This one is easier because you literally just pull it straight up. So I'm pulling it straight up, and again I'm going to make a tiny little loop. And now the loop, like if I'm turning to the side, the loop I'm just rolling straight back. So I'm rolling it towards the back of my head, which you probably can't even see. There. And then once I start to get maybe like a couple inches to the base of my head, I start just turning it towards the front. And then putting my finger through it. I bobby pin it. And then go ahead and go through and just separate it. Just pull it apart a little bit. That's another thing, you don't have to be super gentle with victory rolls. I always thought that you had to, but no. You can pull them apart, do whatever you have to do to get them to look even. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just taking it straight up like I did the other one, and I'm making a little loop. I feel like I'm like doing squats while I'm trying to do this, so my legs are like on fire. Alright, so I have my little loop and I'm just rolling it straight backwards towards the back of my head like I did with the other one. And now that I'm a few inches away from the base of my head, I'm just starting to turn it towards my face. Okay, now mine sit pretty far back because I have my bangs. But if you don't have your bangs, they'll be, and you use like from the very front of your hair, it'll be closer towards your face. This one I'm going to put into a pin curl. So the same thing, the same way I started my victory rolls, I'm just making a little loop towards the back. But because this one is already close to the base of my face, I'm turning it and rolling it. So this is the second set with them sitting more up on top of your head with your bangs like in a little pin curl. And then you could always just, you know, leave your hair down as is. But I generally like to pull mine up when I do my hair like this. So pulling all my hair to the side, and fairly high actually, like I like to have a higher side ponytail. And now, taking a section from underneath, just wrap the ponytail so they can't see it. And then stick a bobby pin through the side. Alright, so this is the finished hairdo. It's just a side ponytail with these two easy victory rolls and then a pin curl in the front. Anyways, I hope that this tutorial was helpful. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of requests on a video about tips and tricks on how to do victory rolls. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Anyways, thank you for taking the time to watch it. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.